I felt like I had the language around trauma and around rape. I felt like I could articulate myself.
The law where Beck lives is clear. Intoxication can affect a person's ability to give consent. The application of that law is not straightforward.
Even with all the tick boxes, it still wasn't good enough. And I think the question that really remained was, well, in what cases does rape get prosecuted?
Beck lives in Tasmania. It's where she met a man who we'll call Tom. Early last year, they arranged to meet at a local bar as friends. The pair shared a bottle of wine, but things became fuzzy after Tom bought Beck a third, then fourth drink.
I recall him saying to me, we need to get you out of here. And then my next memory is just blacked out vision. I think we're walking back to the car and it's a couple of seconds of memory where I kind of reflect to him, hey, we shouldn't be driving, I think we need to get an Uber or something. And he goes, no, it's fine. And then my next memory is the rape, which I only have one very small memory of that.
Beck texted Tom the next morning to confirm what had happened.
I sort of said, hey, I have, very limited or virtually no memories since we left the bar. Did anything sexual happen last night? And his response to me was, hey, yes, we did have sex last night. Sorry that you don't remember it. I also didn't use protection. I think the part that shook me the most was the blatant kind of disregard for the fact that I didn't remember it.
In my experience working with victim survivors, they've woken up questioning something for a reason because it doesn't feel okay. And if they can't remember what's happened, then there wasn't consent, and that is a sexual assault.
More than 32,000 people reported a sexual assault to police across Australia last year. Studies show that's a fraction of the actual number of incidents. Academics estimate about half of sexual assaults involve alcohol and other drugs.
There's a general attitude still lives across our community that if someone was intoxicated, potentially they had some level of responsibility. People do not want to come forward because they don't feel believed.
It was a fear held by Beck, but she decided to report the alleged rape to a local detective.
I was really worried about the police response being dismissive or that he might not take it that seriously, and I think he was pretty disgusted with what had happened, and I think I really felt like he believed me.
Sexual assault is considered among the most difficult crimes to prosecute, with a conviction rate of less than 2%. Tasmania was one of the first states to require affirmative consent during sex.
The victim, the complainant, the survivor, has to communicate in an affirmative way, either by doing or saying something that they're consenting to what is happening. So that's what we mean by the affirmative consent model.
Associate Professor Therese Henning says cases involving intoxication are particularly challenging.
You've got to establish that the complainant was so intoxicated that he or she could not consent. And when you've got that level of intoxication, then you also have questions about the reliability of their evidence, what they can and cannot remember clearly.
Police spent almost a year looking into Beck's report. A blood sample tested for drugs returned an inconclusive result. She was told she didn't look drunk in CCTV of the pair walking to Tom's car.
When I got that feedback, I felt really angry and confused We had this other footage of me that's taken not long after. It happens where I'm very clearly intoxicated, very clearly disorientated. I'm distressed. I'm needing help. That shows like what mental state I'm in.
During the investigation, Beck made a shocking discovery. A second woman shared with her a troubling sexual experience she'd had with the same man.
That shifted my thinking from, I guess, those rape myths that get internalised of perhaps this is an accident, perhaps he thought I was consenting, to this is intentional.
Prosecution can only proceed when it's believed there's a reasonable chance of conviction. Police told Beck her case didn't meet that bar.
The feedback that I got from the DPP was that I didn't remember the rape. That was their main point for why they didn't proceed with it. Yeah, I guess I just felt as though if the reason that I don't remember it is the reason that you won't continue, in what cases do these get prosecuted? Who has a chance?
Professor Heather Flo is an expert in memory who's trained agencies, including the Australian Federal Police. Her world-first research found women can reliably remember if they gave consent, even after drinking.
Individuals who are alcohol intoxicated at the time that they witnessed the crime, later on, they report less complete memories. And what this means is that they're reporting fewer details about the crime, but the details that they're reporting, they're no more likely to be inaccurate if they were drinking alcohol.
Professor Flo says a wider embrace of her findings could improve outcomes in police stations and courtrooms.
People would be more inclined to listen to the totality of the testimony rather than focus on parts where the victim is less certain.
In the few cases that make it to court, it's the prosecution's job to prove the absence of consent. Associate Professor Henning wants radical reform to flip that on its head.
If you're asserting that someone is consenting and you say that they communicated that to you affirmatively, then the burden should be on the person who makes that assertion to establish it on the balance of probabilities. Things are so stacked in favour of the defence that some evening up of some leavening of the burden of proof can be justified.
Tasmania Police declined an interview and said it couldn't comment on specific investigations. The Tasmanian Director of Public Prosecutions also declined to comment. Beck doesn't regret reporting her alleged assault, but struggles with the outcome.
It's all kind of well and good to have affirmative consent laws if the processes don't reflect affirmative consent. Rape does carry a lot of shame, and I don't think it's shame for victims, survivors to hold. I think the shame sits with the people that hurt other people.